It's your open source advocate, and I'm back with another video, and today we're going to talk about Ansible. Now this is one that you guys have been asking me about for years, literally. It's an automation platform and it's really something pretty impressive. Now for a home lab, I feel like Ansible might be a little bit of overkill, just depending on how you're running things and where you're running things, what kind of hardware you're using. If you've got a single server and you're just running a ton of Docker containers, I'm not sure Ansible is really the right call for you. But as we build out our business and our MSP, and as our home labs get more complicated and complex with these mini PCs and less expensive hardware, it could be something that's pretty useful for us. And I think it's going to be super useful in the terms of a business that's based on open source. As you're going out there and saying, I want to support my clients, I want to help them run their servers, I want to help them run their desktops, I want to help them run their devices and their networks and everything like that, being able to automate a lot of those tasks that you would normally have to spend a lot of time doing, where it's tedious work, repetitive work, just things you have to do over and over and over, that's where Ansible comes in and becomes a really powerful tool. You can use Ansible to set up a lot of those tasks to make it really easy. I need to update my Ubuntu servers, or I need to update all of my servers, whether they're Ubuntu or Fedora or CentOS or Red Hat or Arch, or it doesn't matter. Ansible can help you deal with that and handle that in really smart ways that make it pretty easy to get it set up. And then you can just send out that message through Ansible to say, hey, all you servers need you to update and upgrade yourselves. And then if there's a reboot required, we can even set that up. So we'll go through setting that up as well. Really, really awesome, really powerful scripting, really cool stuff. And there's some great user interfaces out there for Ansible as well. But right now we're going to start with the command line so we can get the basics down and understand what's going on. And then we can always look at those tools that have a user interface later when we kind of understand that part of it. So I'm super excited about this particular episode just because it's going to come into play in our next few episodes. So we're going to be installing Zabbix for monitoring. And Zabbix is an awesome project, but people always, anytime I cover things like that, Zabbix, CheckMK, any of those things, they're like, well, how do I get the agent onto all my clients really fast? Is getting that agent onto hundreds or thousands of clients is a tedious task. And especially if you're thinking I have to go log into every single one of those and do that. That's again where Ansible comes into play. You can get that thing pushed out to all of your clients. If you have to update it for some reason, you can push out the update to all of your clients. If you have to do anything, you can use Ansible for those type of things. So it's really an incredibly powerful tool that can help us do a lot of things. So I talked about Zabbix. We're also going to be looking at Waza or Wazoo. I don't know how it's supposed to be pronounced exactly, but it's a really great security tool that we want to use for all of our systems out there and make sure that we're protecting our clients. It's an endpoint security type system, and it's really great, and it gives you a ton of information. But getting that client, again, there's a server side, a controller piece, a manager, and then there's the client piece that gets installed on all the machines and reports back and helps you take actions and things like that. So again, getting that out there onto a bunch of different clients can be a really massive task. And as you bring on new customers to your IT business or your MSP business, and they say, hey, yeah, we're ready to sign up. We want to pay you $13,000 a year to help us manage all of our stuff. How many machines do we have? Oh, about 300. That suddenly becomes something where you're like, okay, I don't want to have to go individually touch all those machines and push this out there. I want to have some kind of tool that I can use to help me get this set up and ready. And again, I think that's going to be the tool that we're going to use anyways is Ansible. There may be other tools out there that you could do this with, but Ansible just seems like a really great one for me. So we're going to get to the install and the setup of Ansible right after this. I want to say thank you to all of my subscribers and all of my patrons over at Patreon. Seriously, you guys make this so worth it for me to do these videos every week. I really truly enjoy it, and I just can't say thank you enough. If you're enjoying these videos, subscribe. Let YouTube know that I'm doing a good job by subscribing to the channel. Plus, you'll get notified when I have new videos coming out. And finally, if you're enjoying what I'm doing, give it a like. Just click on that thumbs up, and that way YouTube knows that you like it, and they'll pass it along to other people that might enjoy my content as well. I really appreciate it. Thank you again. Let's get started. To get started, we're just going to need a few things. So to run Ansible, you actually need to set up the Ansible server or the controller. Now this can be any machine. It can be your desktop, your laptop, it can be a server that you've got running somewhere, or like I did, you can set up a special container like an LXC, LXD, or Incus container, and then install Ansible on that and let that act as your controller machine all the time. So I've done it that way just so that it's always there. It's the same machine. It's a dedicated container just for Ansible. So that's the way I've set it up. The next thing we need is an SSH public-private key pair. So we'll generate that, and I'll walk you through that process. But that gives us the ability to have Ansible log into the target machines with SSH, and using a public-private key is much more secure than using a password. So we're going to do that as well. Of course, you need SSH access to the target and client machines that you're planning on using Ansible with. If you don't have that SSH access, you need to make sure you get that access and then go through these steps with me. And then finally, about 30 minutes of our time, and we should be wrapping it up. Now, I'm going to go through a very crude overview of what Ansible can do and how to set it up and how to run a playbook and get things set up. I will have links in the description to other YouTubers who have entire series on Ansible, and even those will still just be kind of a getting you started series. So definitely go check out some other stuff. Ansible has really good documentation as well, so get out there and read it, start learning about it and understanding it. But in order to fit what we need for the time being, I'm going to get through the basics for you that'll help you get started. Make sure that you're logged into the machine that you intend to use for Ansible. And we need to first get Ansible installed, get your SSH keys set up, things like that. So let's do our SSH key setup first. So if you've never set up SSH keys before, it's pretty straightforward. So from whatever user you're going to be setting this up for, and you can set up a special user for Ansible if you want to. I'll just use my normal user. But you're going to do SSH-keygen, which means generate a key pair. And we're going to say -T, which means the type. What type of key do we want? ED25519. So this is a certain type of key. It's a little bit more efficient when the computer has to generate it. So if you get into a point where you're generating a lot of these keys, it's a little bit more efficient than RSA. It's a shorter key, but just as secure as an RSA 256-bit key. So we're doing pretty well by using this encryption method. And then we're going to put -C, which means a comment. And we're going to just type in Ansible in double quotes there. And once we've got that all laid out, I'm going to call this something different because I've already made this before. So I'm just going to comment this as video_Ansible. You can just leave it as Ansible. So I'm just going to hit enter. And the first thing to do is going to ask us, hey, where do you want to save this and what file name do you want to give it? So I don't want to use ID like that, like it shows here. I actually want to give it a name that's more descriptive. So let's call this, we got to do the whole path. So /home/Brian/.ssh, and we do want this to be in .ssh. If you don't have a .ssh folder already, create one and then run this so that you can put your keys in it. I'm just going to call this video_Ansible like that, and that's going to create our keys, and then it's going to ask us for a passphrase. Now usually a passphrase makes your SSH key pair much more secure, but in this case we don't want to use one because we want Ansible to be able to go out and take actions on our systems without having to prompt us constantly for a passphrase for every machine it tries to hit. So I'm going to hit enter, just leave it blank. I'm going to hit enter again, leaving it blank, and it's going to generate our keys. So now we can do ls.ssh, and you're going to see several keys here that I've set up, but you'll see I've got this one here that says video Ansible, and then this other one that says videoansible.pub. So this is our key pair. We have video Ansible, which is our private key. This is one that we don't ever want to share out. We want to keep it here on this system. And then this is our public key. This is the key that we can literally send to every machine and have it store that public key and make sure that we can access that machine using that public key. So that public key says, hey, I know that if you send me the right private key, I can match these up and you should have access. So it's a really great, secure way of keeping things safe, and you want to make sure that you keep that private key safe always. Don't share that with other people. Don't put it out on a public server, nothing like that. All right, so we've got our private public key pair set. Now we need to send that public key over to other machines, and we can do that with another SSH command. So it's called SSH-copy-ID, which key we want to send to a machine. So we're going to say SSH copy ID, and then we're going to do -i. So after the -i, we're going to tell it /home/Brian, or you can also do this. In this case, you can use the shortcut of // which means my home directory, .ssh, and then video and you would just type in whatever you called it. So if you just called it Ansible, just type in ansible.pub. Make sure to put that on there. And then we're going to give it the username and the IP address of the machine that we want to send it to and the user we want to send it for. So I'm going to say Brian at, and I'm just going to send this to another machine on my network here. So I'm going to say 192.168.10.98. So it's going to give us a bunch of information here on the screen. It's going to tell us, hey, we're about to send a key over and this is where you're going to send it. So make sure you've got that right. It's asking me for my password for that machine. So it always wants to validate that you have access to the machine. So I put in my password and it says here, hey, we copied one key over. So we've got our SSH key over. So now we can test that with SSH Brian at 192.168.10.98. And we want to tell it what key to use. So we'll say -i // and video Ansible. Just like that. So it's going to use our private key to log us in. So let's just give that a shot. And if you look, that logged me right into my Wazoo test system. So we're set. That's great. It's working like we want. We're going to exit just to get back out of that system. So we've tested it. We want to make sure we're back on our Ansible system before we keep going. Now to install Ansible, you really just need to install from your package repository that usually has Ansible, but we want to make sure we get the newest version. So depending on your machine setup, it'll depend on how you add that repository, but I'm going to go with the assumption you're on a Debian or Ubuntu system and we're going to be adding an apt repository to it. So we're going to do sudo apt or sudo add apt repository like this. And then it's ppa:/Ansible/Ansible. So when we go to add this, it's going to ask you like, hey, here's your super user password. It's going to come down, it's going to say, okay, you're about to add this repository. Do you want to do that? We're going to hit enter. So I already have the repository installed. So it said it found an existing entry. That's okay. Don't worry about it. You probably won't see that unless you've done that before as well. But once you've done it, we're just going to do this one more time. Sudo apt update, so that it goes out and pulls down the latest stuff for us to make sure that we grab everything from that repository we just added. And then we're going to install Ansible with sudo apt install Ansible, and then a -y is fine. So it's going to go out there and grab Ansible. And now I've already got it installed. You're going to get a little bit more output and it'll take a little bit longer to go grab it, but let that run through and it's going to install Ansible for you. Once you've done that, you've got Ansible set up on your machine, you've got your SSH keys set up and ready to go on your local machine for your private key, and you've already pushed your public key out to one of the other machines. Now, if you've got multiple machines, run through that process of getting that public key pushed over to all those machines, and then we can start setting up Ansible to do some really cool stuff. Now that we've got Ansible installed, we've got our SSH keys in place, we need to set up our actual project. So now I'm on the system that I already use for Ansible, so if I do an ls, you'll see there's already one called Ansible Home, and this is where I've got a lot of my stuff set up. But we're going to create a new project folder just so that we'll have it. So we're going to do mkdir, and we're going to put Ansible and project. Seems simple enough. Now we can move into that folder, and if we do an ls, there's nothing here yet. We need to create a file to keep track of all of the machines that we want to target to use Ansible to keep that stuff up to date or do whatever kind of actions we want to take. So we're going to just create a new file. It's just a plain text file. Now you can use YAML to define this file. If you're interested in that, definitely go check out the Ansible project directions, but I find the plain text file a little bit easier just to start with. So we're just going to create a new file. We're going to do nano inventory. And that's just what we're going to call it. No extension, nothing like that. And in here, we're going to put, on square braces, we can create groups of target machines. A target machine can be in more than one group. You can also create groups of groups. Again, this stuff is a little bit beyond the scope of this video, but I just want you to know there's some flexibility in the way that you create this. But to start with, let's just call this home, and we're going to use underscore. Hyphens aren't really appreciated with Ansible, so don't use hyphens, use underscores. And we use home servers and then square brackets here. And let's create another group. We'll make a few spaces and we'll do one called home desktops. How about that? So we'll just kind of separate our groups here in a logical way, and we can always go back and change these group names and make it fit better what we want. We just need to remember to go update our playbooks because we use these group names to refer to a group of machines. Now inside of these groups, so anything under this group before the next group is something that belongs to this group essentially. So we'll create an alias for a couple of our servers here, and I've got a ton of them running. So let's just create a couple of aliases. So I'll call one Dashy, and that's just my Dashy server. Now it runs a few other Docker projects, but for the most part, it's a Ubuntu 2204 container server. And once I've got Dashy put in there, I'm just going to put a space, and then I'm going to call it Ansible_host, and then equals, and I'm going to put the IP address of that server in there. So I believe that's 192.168.10.182. You would of course put in the IP address of any server you're trying to target from your network. Now the cool thing about it is, if I put my Ansible controller on my Netbird VPN, I can now target any machine that's on my VPN that I can access from my home network. So I can put the Ansible controller in there, I can add it to VPN groups inside of Netbird to make sure it can reach the right machines. So we could do everything over the VPN as well, but right now I'm just going to work on the LAN. So I'm going to just go to the next line, and I'll just add another server here. Let's just add one more. Let's add our proxy server, and again we'll do Ansible_host equals. And I'll have to find out for sure what that address is, but I'll get it here in just a minute. But we'll just, for now, say 47. I don't know if that's correct or not. And we can just keep adding more machines under that group if we want to. We can have tons of machines under one group. It's up to you how you set these up. And over time, this is going to change. You're going to figure out, oh, wow, I'd rather do it this way. Or, hey, this makes more sense for my groupings. Or, hey, I need this machine under two groups. And that's fine. You should grow into this. Now, this alias is not the qualified host name. It's not the host name of the machine. It's just an alias we're giving it so we can refer to this machine by this little alias. If you want to use the fully qualified domain name or your host name from your different servers, you can absolutely do that here. In this case, I'm just picking names that I know will help me identify that server. So on desktops, I'm just going to put in Brian_Ubuntu. No, I don't have one. So under the desktop section, I'm just going to put in Brian_studio, which is the one I'm recording on right now, and then I'll give it the IP address for this machine, which again is Ansible_host, and then equals 192.168.10. And I don't really remember for sure that I'm going to save this with Control O, enter, Control X to exit, and we'll just do an IP-BR-4A. And this one is nope, I'm on the wrong machine. And I don't really remember what this machine's IP is, so I can just open up another panel here, and I can just do IP-BR-4A, and it is 153, so I'll put that in, 153. Now we have to have SSH enabled on these machines. Make sure we can reach these machines, of course, with Ansible, and make sure we've got our private and public key pairs set up. So I'm going to save this file. I've got 4 machines. Now I know normally this is a lot of work to put into just setting up something with 4 machines. But over time, as you grow, this is going to pay off because you've got this inventory file that you can edit and add things to. So we're going to save this with Control O, enter, and then Control X to exit. Okay, if you're not a bonehead, so when I looked at my IP address, I read the wrong IP address, so it's actually .44 for this machine. So to keep things simple, I'm just going to put one desktop here. So I've put this desktop machine here that's my laptop that I use on a regular basis, and then I've got these 2 servers. So let's just do a Control O to save and a Control X to exit. And let's just do SSH Brian at 192.168.10.182. And let's use that other key. So we're going to copy it over there actually. Copy ID -I .sh video Ansible. And it's going to prompt me for my super user password here. So we've got our keys moved over. Let's just test it with SSH Brian at 1. In fact, we need to tell it what key to use. So -I .ssh video, and then Brian at 192.168.10.182. And we got logged in without any problems. So we did a really simple test, like can we reach it from this Ansible server? That's great. Now there's another test that we can do to make sure that everything's working, and it's called the Ansible-Ping. We're going to use a special command here, and this is just going to start with Ansible. So we're telling Ansible we want you to run this. Here's the key file we want you to use. So we're going to give it that private key, which is .ssh video Ansible or /.ssh video _ Ansible. Then we're going to tell it what inventory file to use. We're going to say -i and then just /inventory. And then finally, we're going to tell it do it to all of the hosts. Now we could specify a host group if we didn't want all of them to get checked. And then -m and ping. So this is not the same ping as you get with bash, where you type in ping and an IP address and it returns how long it takes for it to hit that server and come back. This is like Ansible says, hey, I'm going to go and actually try to connect to that host and then log into that host with the key that you gave me. And if I can do that, I'll let you know. And if I can't, I'll let you know. So this is a great way to test to make sure that your Ansible hosts file, your inventory file is ready. So we're just going to hit enter. You're going to see it says invalid characters were found in the group names but not replaced, so we need to go look at that. And then we've got right here, it says Ansible facts, so it's going to grab the facts. It says discovered interpreter Python, great. It says changed, false. Ping, pong, which is good, that's what we want. So this gives us the success message and it tells us what machine it hit. So it hit -e and it was successful. Then it comes here and it says I hit the proxy and it was successful. And again, you see similar output. And finally down here it says, hey, I hit Brian's laptop and it was successful, and it gives us that output. So that just lets us know, hey, everything looks like it should work with a playbook, so we're ready to go. Now, if you got something like an error message, it tells you right here to do -vvvv, and it'll give you more details. So we can run that command again and do -12345Vs, and it's going to give us a ton of output. So it was trying to tell us, hey, there was something weird in your file. So let's go just check our file. Let's just do nano inventory. So we've got an underscore here. We've got a hyphen in this one. There's our problem. So it does not like hyphens. It wants underscores. So I'm going to change that. I'm going to do Control O to save, Control X to exit, and we can just run that command again without the -vvvv maybe. Let's try it again without the -vvvv. And there we go. So now I don't get any error message at the top about having something named funny or having a name that it doesn't like. It just ran through and it was like everything's good. Cool. So the next step is to create one of our Ansible playbooks and actually have this do some actions to our clients. Now playbooks are kind of the meat of Ansible, and getting playbooks that you want to run is really important. So having different playbooks for different things is important, but you can put multiple tasks inside of a single playbook as well. So a playbook is just a YAML file, and it lets you set up the things that you want Ansible to do. Now, understanding Ansible and the modules that are available is a huge topic. It's going to be better for you to go read about it, look for examples online, things like that. But we're going to build one. We're going to build one that'll do some updates on the machines that we've set up. And I did this on purpose. So I've got 2 Ubuntu servers and a Fedora desktop that we're basically going to use. The laptop as a Fedora machine. So it'll show you that there's different ways to do this. Now, I'm not going to go into extreme detail, but you can just streamline everything and make it super smooth. But we can make it do this pretty easily. So let's just create our first playbook file. Let's just call this, we're going to do nano. We're going to call this update machines.yml. Nothing special about it. And then in here, we're going to put 3 hyphens to start. It's a YAML file. Then we're going to put a hyphen hosts. And we can start with all. It's fine. Now, this is just saying all of the hosts that I feed you in the inventory file is what I want you to run this on. Now, again, when you have different types of hosts in your inventory file and we've grouped them, we could use those groups to separate out what we're working on, because in this case, our groups actually separate the operating system type as well. But Ansible actually has some smarts built in to help us with that. So we're going to hit enter. We're going to put in a couple of spaces there to make sure we're in the right spot. And we're going to enter a special option here called become, which means become the super user. So here we're going to put true. We're just going to hit enter. And here we're going to say, all right, I want to start my tasks. So this is kind of a special spot. Now, you can put a space if you want to there. It's up to you. but you don't put anything after it. We're just going to hit enter. We're going to go here and we're going to do 2 extra spaces and put a hyphen, and we're going to give this task a name. So we're going to say update Ubuntu systems. And this name is just something for you to identify it in the output that Ansible gives you. So this can be anything. You could say update my servers. It just doesn't matter. It's up to you how you type this out, but we'll put update Ubuntu systems. It's fine. We're again going to go out here and we're going to get right into the end. We're going to put become : true, because we do want to become super user to run this update. And then we're going to come out here and we're going to put apt and a colon. So apt is the package manager that we're going to use for the Debian and Ubuntu based systems. So we're going to go to a new line and we're just going to space out here. We're going to get into that A and then we're going to hit 2 more spaces. So with the apt module, we can do the update and the upgrade. So if you've seen me ever do a Ubuntu video or anything where I'm using Ubuntu server, I do sudo apt update ampersand sudo apt upgrade -y. We can do something very similar here. So we're going to do upgrade, which is a little bit backwards in order. We're going to hit a colon, then we're going to type dist. So there's different upgrade types you can do, but we want to do the dist upgrade, which upgrades all of the packages for us. We're going to hit enter. We're going to go to the next line. We're going to space out there right into that U. We're going to do update and then underscore cache, colon, and then yes. So we want this to go out there. We want it to run our Ubuntu system updates. We're going to use apt, and then we're going to run update cache, and then we're going to run the upgrade. Now, if you remember, up here, we put all. So it's going to go out there and it's going to say, okay, I'm ready to run this. And it's going to hit that Fedora machine and it's going to try to run this. And Fedora doesn't know what apt is. Fedora doesn't use apt. It uses a different package manager. So it's going to fail and it's going to tell us, hey, I couldn't run this. And we're going to have a failure in our output in Ansible, and we don't really want that. So Ansible also has a really nice thing called when. As in, when you get off work, go buy and get some milk. They're not saying right now go get milk. They're saying when you get off work. They're giving you a condition. So first you must be off work, then go get milk. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to say when, colon, and we're going to use a special feature in here called distribution. And we're going to look at the distribution type in Ansible, and we're going to tell it when the distribution is Ubuntu, then we can do that. And really what Ansible does is it goes out and when it says gathering facts, it figures out what types of systems you've got and a whole lot of other things that you can use for this when clause. But we're just going to look for the distribution type. Right for when, we're going to type in Ansible _ facts. And then we're going to put in a square bracket. And we're going to type in a single quote. And then we're going to put distribution, a single quote in the square bracket. And then we're going to put equals. And then a single quote, Ubuntu, like that. So we want it to say, when the distribution is Ubuntu, run this section. Okay? That's great. So we're going to save that. So we've saved it. Let's exit out of it. And let's just try to run this playbook. So to run a playbook, we're going to type Ansible-Playbook and then --key -file. And we're going to give it that key file. So // video projects or video _Ansible, sorry. And then we're going to tell it what inventory to use. So we're going to say -i inventory. And then we're going to tell it what playbook to use. So we called this update _machines.yaml. Okay, yeah. So I've got this spaced incorrectly. It should be like this. I added 1 space there. Let's save this and let's exit. So we need to do one more thing here. Right at the end, we need to do --ask -become -pass. So that little part right there is very important because it says, I want you to ask me so that you can become the pseudo user, and I'll give you the password you need. So let's clear this out, and we've got all of that set. Let's hit enter. It's going to prompt us now. So here is my pseudo password for those machines. I'm going to type it in here, and then I'm going to hit enter. It's going to go out and gather the facts. It's going to tell us, hey, I got the stuff for proxy, I got the stuff for Dashi, and it got the laptop. So it says update Ubuntu systems, and it says skipping for Brian laptop. And then it says changed. So it ran it for Dashi and it ran it for the proxy. So down here you get a nice summary. So you get Brian's laptop. What happened? It says, okay, it ran 1. It didn't change anything because it's not Ubuntu. It was reachable, so it's got 0 for unreachable. It didn't fail, so it's got 0. It skipped it, so it tells you it skipped it. And you should know why it skipped it. If you don't know why it skipped it, then that's something to go look into to figure out, like, hey, was it supposed to skip it? Well, in this case, of course, it's Fedora. We don't want to run apt on that. Then it says, did I have to rescue the process or anything like that? Was it ignored for some reason? No. So you get this nice summary. And then down here, of course, on these other two, you can see 2 things happened. It changed 1 thing, so it did the updates and the upgrades. Everything else worked. It wasn't skipped, and there was no ignores. So we're doing good. So our Ansible Playbook works. We were able to get 2 machines to update at the same time, essentially. And then also, we were able to figure out, hey, it's going to skip the Fedora laptop like we want. Now I know what you're thinking, well, but wait, I want to update my Fedora laptop. Why would I tell it to skip? So let's go add that step to this new playbook. And we're just going to come down here and we're going to space over under tasks. So we're going to come down, we're going to make a new line, we're going to go all the 3, 4 spaces and then hyphen name. We're going to give a new task, and this is update Fedora systems. We're going to put become : true because we need to be sudo in order to do that. And instead of apt, we're going to use DNF. We'll hit 2 spaces and we'll put in update only and then : true. And we'll put in update cache and : true, just like this. So we're going to save that with Control O, hit enter, and Control X, and we're going to go back up and rerun that command. And again, it's going to prompt us for our super user password. So it skips the laptop, and then it skips the 2 Ubuntu systems for Fedora. And it comes back and says everything was okay. It was able to complete everything we wanted. It skipped 1 for each step just because, again, they're not on both sides of it. And we're set. So we should have updates on our system. Everything should be ready to go. So now we've got an Ansible playbook that's pushing out the things that we need, and it's actually helping us get things done and make it a little bit simpler. So again, for 3 machines, it may not make a ton of sense. This is just a learning environment. But as your business grows, as your home lab grows, as anything else grows that you're helping friends or family manage their systems, this is a great tool to do that. And using something like NetBird VPN and systems like Ansible together, you can really help your family stay up to date. Make sure they've got the security updates installed. Make sure that everything's set up and running correctly. I mean, just terrific, terrific tooling around Ansible. And as I said, in some of the follow-up videos we're going to be having for more of our MSP and build a business on open source, we're going to have tools that are going to use Ansible to get them installed. So I'm super excited about this. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it helps you as we move along through this journey. I hope it piques your interest in Ansible and hope you get out there and learn more. There is a ton of documentation and information out there on the internet, so definitely get out there and check it out. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, please like, subscribe, tell your friends about it so they come along in the open source journey with us, and I'll talk to you next time.